The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we're the ones that encourage you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors. Because Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce, US 1 at Orange Avenue across from City Hall, now presents Joanne's World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. All right, I am super excited about this show today. It was my husband's idea as of 9 p.m. last night, but I really loved it. So we're going to go with it. But before we get into the show, we must do our breath work. So I appreciate everyone spending some time with me this morning. Let's just do 3 rounds this morning. We're going to use our nose only. In for 5 seconds and right out for 5 seconds. So all my regulars, I know we're used to a pause. Right. So we're trying something new. We're just going to try to match the heart rhythm, that nice, steady, smooth pace. And if it's not feeling so steady, the breath work will help it get steady. Yes. All right. And so newbies, only your nose, okay? Let's not do any mouth breathing.
No hesitation in the middle.
That's right. It's technically supposed to be 5.5 seconds, but I'm not sure if Cliff works with decimal points.
I can work with. I can build them in invisibly. Yes.
I'm sorry. I had to roast you a little this morning. All right, everyone. Let's exhale out anything that doesn't feel comfortable, and here we go.
Let out all the negative now. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Instantly in. 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time. 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you, good sir. That was awesome, and you got the half in there.
Yeah, I got that.
I know. I think wow. And so it must be important. If they, if they didn't leave it out in the study, then it must be important. So a couple housekeeping things. The store is still offering my coaching special for the summer. So normally it's $250 for 10 sessions that you can mix and match with my coaching and the services at the Wellness Center. So the infrared sauna, the ion foot detox, the PEMF mat, the Sedona Pro from Austria. So you can use any box 10 normally for $250. But for the summer, it's unlimited for 1 month. So it's $250 for the month. You can come up to 6 times a day. I tell people it's first come, first serve. You can either book through us or online at joannesnutritionworld.com. And my coaching, you get officially as many coaching sessions as you want. So if you want to talk to me 6 times a week, you get it for this summer package. But you do have to start the package this month. So, if you sign up, say today, it goes to September 10th. And so on, but
that includes the sauna?
Yeah, so infrared sauna by Sunlight, in which I mentioned the brand name because there's only 2 saunas in the country that offer near infrared, which has all the cutting edge studies to show help with brain health, blood pressure, anti-aging, super cool stuff. And then the Sedona Pro, I mentioned that PEMF device because if you Google PEMF, you see a lot of contraptions on online stores, and they're not what they say they are. The Sedona Pro has been in the United States for 40 years from Austria, and it is really good. It has legitimate information to back it up. And my Iron Foot Detox, I only use a Major Difference. I've been using it for 20 years. It is not only a dirty electricity blocker and the only one you see online, but it's absolutely incredible and it really works. I hope people take advantage of this special because, as everyone knows, I love to talk, I love to coach, I love to share my 38 years of knowledge, and most of the time it's like firsthand experience with my family, friends, and customers that I feel like have taught me the most.
All your products home proven and tested by
Yeah.
yourself and your family.
And again, I never, oversell. Most of the time, I'm very conservative. I definitely think that that's my reputation in the neighborhood. Like, I take away things from people program, and I do make them make some tough choices with lifestyle choices, which sometimes are harder than swallowing a pill, but it's really what works. It's not about the pills. It's definitely about choices. And that leads me to today's topic, which, honey, thank you for this topic. Why and when to go to the emergency room. He kind of cracks up, and a lot of my customers are nurses. And, Matt ran his dad's practice for a long time, and, his father's a physician at the local hospitals, and he deals with ER all the time. He does ER call, I think, 6 nights a week. And so the nurses will say, Joanne, you're triaging right on the store floor. And I'm not trying to play doctor, and I know I'm not a medical doctor, and I know my listeners know I'm not a doctor. But some of the things that I feel customers are going to the ER for, they're just coming back, sometimes days later, and I'll go, so what happened? And they'll go, nothing. I'm like, what do you mean nothing? Well, I went in there, long lines, I got tested, all these tests, and they didn't find anything, and I feel worse than I did when I first got there because now they're exhausted, malnourished, and stressed out. So I know that's not always the case, but I kind of want to see what was the statistics on those type of cases, because it can't just be me that's hearing these stories from my customers, friends, and family. So I looked up the stats. So 136 million people visit the ER each year, and 30% of them are related to injuries. And 18 million times each year, they find that it's completely unnecessary. Okay? And then, according to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, I have no idea who those people are, but I want to throw some words out to make me look a little smarter. So, according to Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the hospital readmissions for Medicare patients alone cost $26 billion a year, and $17 billion of that, they say, is avoidable, non-necessary emergency room visits. Now, I'm not really good at politics and economics, and I know a lot of people talk about this stuff much smarter than me when it comes to numbers. And they say that it's $32 billion a year that increases healthcare costs unnecessarily. So I'm just going to look at it this way. The stress, and I mean, when you go into a emergency room, now, if you're blessed with one that there's no waiting lines and it's beautiful and you know the people by name, maybe your experience is different. But the couple times I had to go in there, it was a little frightening, exhausting. It tests your patience. And then you're walking in to 20 questions. And meanwhile, you're like, wait, I just want to lay in the bed and I want you to tell me what's wrong with me. But that's not really what happens. And sometimes when we're at home and we're in that emergency situation, that's what we hope happens. Like we're just going to get whisked away or driven to this magic room that they're just going to do, what's that show? Oh my God, my son's watching it now, where the doctor goes into the room and no matter what's wrong, if someone can call up and tell me, it's one word. You don't know what it is, Cliff? It's the guy, he has the cane and the bad foot, and oh my gosh. Okay, Matthew, text me, please. So he goes in and to every emergency room, and in 30 seconds with a little comedy, he'll figure out what the problem is with the person, no matter how serious it is or how little it is. So, but that's not reality. The reality is you usually are waiting for a while. You're worried about expense, even if you have insurance. House, my husband is so awesome. The show House, yes. Love that show. And, all the doctors can't be House, Yes, thank God for text messaging. Thank you, honey. So, yeah, so it's not like that. You're already at home. feeling, vulnerable because you have to make this call, or a loved one's making this call for you, or driving you to the emergency room. And sometimes, financial stress is coming about. How much is this going to cost? Should I avoid it because it might cost too much, or will my insurance cover this? And then, am I dying? What's wrong? I mean, so much stress. So again, I'm not playing doctor, but I am going to go over some of the things that, according to the major insurance companies and the major ERs nationally, are saying when to go in and when not. So I'm basing it on what they're saying, and then I'm going to give you my personal life experience, not only with myself, my family, and some very close customers, on how they avoided the ERs. Okay? So most of the issues that they say that people come in to the ER that are usually non-treatable issues, okay? Things that you normally should not go into the ER for. And I found the first one kind of like, wow, really, people go in the ER for this? But so dental disorders are about 4% of ER visits each year. Now, dentists, I know you have a place in this world, but I am a little scared of you. And so I definitely wouldn't go into an ER looking for dental help because, that's not what they're trained in. So yes, 4% of emergency room visits each year are toothache and dental disorders. So definitely you want to not go there for a toothache. Okay, so you won't get any pain meds, and you won't. You'll get turned away after waiting probably a couple of hours, and then you'll get your blood pressure taken and blah blah blah. Okay, and then a big bill. So let's avoid with dental disorders. Okay, the next one is back pain. Now, there are amazing pain specialists nationally throughout the country. Some are better than others, but back pain, there are stories upon stories upon stories. Because your loved one is wrenched in pain, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get them help, especially if they can't sleep. But with back pain, really, you want to go to a pain specialist. To put someone that's already in that serious pain into a vehicle, into the ER setup, not really for their benefit. And I know that's hard, especially if you're in pain and or watching a loved one that's in pain, but definitely not set up for that type of pain. And I took a picture of, because I went through this myself, so I'm going to tell my quick story, and most of my long-term listeners probably already know this story because I talked about it a lot back then. Was when I went to the ER in serious pain. Like, I passed out at Sam's Club because I lifted a box of Pellegrino, and I got rushed to the emergency room. And when I was in the emergency room, I got taken to this little room, and every doctor that was, I guess, on call or on staff right then came in, and they keep telling me nothing's wrong with me, and that, I'm okay. And meanwhile, my pain was so severe that I couldn't even speak when it would come on, but it would go in waves. And so if a doctor walked in when it was on the down wave, I would be like, well, I would talk and I would be normal, and everyone knows me. I wouldn't be negative or, fearful, but I would just tell them the pain, and they would look at me and go, no, you're okay. We're just going to discharge you. And luckily, my ex-husband, as everyone knows that drama, he was, pretty much with no filter, and he told the doctor, who I think was, no joke, probably like 86 years old, kind of like backed him up a little bit and said, you scan my wife right now because she never talks about pain. She never even takes an aspirin. Something is definitely wrong. Well, as I was getting scanned, let's just say 5 minutes later, I was rushed into the emergency room. I was having ectopic pregnancy. And I was told later by my OBGYN that I was minutes away from an extremely serious and life-threatening situation. So if I had gone back home, that wouldn't have turned out well. So I don't take this show lightly, and I'm definitely telling you that certain things you want to go to the emergency room, and especially if the pain is a severe sudden pain. But I'm talking about just general back pain that you know from your life experience, from your work, from you just had a hard day in the garden and you're just in general back pain mode. That's different than severe acute pain that suddenly came on. And one of the questions that you can ask yourself, and that the doctors and nurses will ask you when you go into the ER, is basically, what level of pain are you at, like 1 through 10? And I have to laugh because, they asked me that question, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, what's the number system based on? Like, who really knows that? And when you're in pain and you're in the emergency room, it's the last moment you want to have a little tutorial or a little education on pain numbers. So again, you can Google this so you have a reference, so God forbid you ever need to know this. But mild pain, okay, is 1 through 3. And that is a mild pain. 1 through 3 is it's not really interfering with your life. You can still go to work. You can still do your chores. You can still kind of maintain life. So that's mild. It's distracting, but you can manage it. Moderate pain, okay, is a level 4, 5, and 6, okay? And with a level 4, it's distracting. You can ignore it. But it's kind of like, it's really taking some attention here and there. Level 5, it's hard to ignore, and it takes a lot of effort to go to work or be social. Okay, that's level 5. Level 6, you really have difficulty concentrating, and it stops you getting on with normal daily activities. Okay, so level 6, that might be where, you had to call in sick to work. And you tell the family, hey, not doing nothing, I'm in bed, not feeling good, okay? Level 7, okay, 7, 8, and 9, that's when you really pay attention, okay? And you feel more disabled, you can't perform any daily activities, so yes, you call into work, say at a 6, but now you can't even participate, and you don't even want to sit on the couch and watch TV because you're really, so that's kind of 7 and 8, where depending on the extreme, where you can't even take a car ride to the supermarket, you're just in that much pain. Now 9 is when you can't sleep, okay? The pain is so debilitating that you cannot sleep. So Cliff, I'm going to ask you a question. What number do you think you're supposed to go to the ER with?
Well, it depends on where the pain is and what's causing it, but I think I was at about maybe 8.
Okay, so technically they say 9. Again, their rules, not mine. They
9's
say
when
9.
I call in sick.
Yeah, so so 9 is basically when you can't sleep at all. Right. Okay, nothing brings you comfort, and it's just absolutely severe. Okay, so I don't know. 10 is I don't know.
On a scale of 1 to
You're
10,
hooked up.
Yeah,
all right, I'm taking these earrings off. Oh my gosh, they're so annoying. Okay, so yes, so the reason I really want to stress this number chart is because I think this is where I went wrong when I went into the emergency room. Because when they asked me, I had never been to an emergency room before. I had no idea what a pain scale was. So I'm like, I think a 7. I didn't remember passing out on the Sam's Club floor. I didn't have any idea like what really my pain level was. I had it and I went out, so I think that should have been enough information for them that the pain was so severe I passed out, but I called it a 7, and that's where I went wrong because, in their little coding system, I guess, and what they type into little charts, then the next guy takes the chart, and he looks, he goes, oh, she's only at a 7. She should go home. Okay, so again, I have to take responsibility, but when are we taught these things? So I just taught all you guys, spread the word, okay? Because pain is a major signal to, I say, emergency rooms are phenomenal. You get in a car accident, you're missing a limb, you have severe onset of pain, you do get your butt to the emergency room, because severe and a rapid acute onset definitely signals, that's the body telling you, pay attention now, take action now.
Now,
So,
if we weren't in pain, we wouldn't know we'd had a problem.
yeah.
So the
Yeah.
pain is actually good for you because it gives you a warning that something's
Well,
wrong.
thank you, sir, because that's exactly what I'm going to discuss next. So, pain goes along with inflammation.
Okay.
And inflammation has been so vilified because every disease that kills us, other than an accident, is inflammation. But inflammation is not the bad guy. What caused the inflammation is the bad guy, okay? Inflammation is an early warning sign, like the red flags of the human body. Now, if we choose to ignore the little signs, and as they pile up, and then all of a sudden we're in the ER, again, which problem was it? Ours or the inflammation, okay? So inflammation is basically the body trying to let you know that something is just not right. So I would definitely try to pay attention to inflammation, and there are so many things you can do, okay? And I'm going to go into some of what I call solutions to avoid the ER in general, but back pain, again, unless you're at a 9, okay, and it's severe, acute, so you don't know the reason. It wasn't because, the person's loading a UPS truck all day, something like that. Then they say that should be more of an urgent care, not an ER or a pain specialist. Headache. I found this kind of interesting to be on the list, because headache can be a severe headache, an onset of something much more serious and life-threatening. So I think they're just generalizing. What I usually do with myself and my family members is I kind of like really take a good inventory of why maybe the headache is there. So, did I drink enough water that day? Am I dehydrated? Did I have too many refined carbohydrates or sweets? And is the glucose literally flooding my brain and I'm feeling a major sugar headache? Okay, that definitely happens, people. So that's no joke. When you have too much sugar, you can get a very piercing headache. Okay, dehydration, debilitating headache and fatigue. Okay, and this is something the ER can hook you up to an IV and help you, but the problem is all the stress and the cost to get that done. I don't really personally think it's worth it. Just get that water in you right away, and if you're a little nervous about the headache, you can start drinking the water. The moment you start getting the headache, start drinking the water. If you have good, clean electrolyte powders like the ones from my store without the artificial colors and flavors, then you can start pounding those down. But really, don't go into a vehicle being driven somewhere dehydrated, because if there's a 2-hour wait, they're not going to let you sit in the waiting room with the IV bag, unless you present some signs of heart failure or heart disease. Okay, so definitely, please, with the headache, I think they mean in general. I know headaches are hard, and I know they really hurt, but just like the back pain, it's inflammation. And most natural stores as well as drugstores now have natural anti-inflammatory. There is my favorite one that I sell tons of is Curamin. That's all I have at home. I have the Curamin regular and I have the Curamin acute pain gel. If all of a sudden my sciatica, I get a headache because I didn't make the good choices that day, I do that large glass of water and it's gone. It's gone. And what the best part is that not only is it gone, but it's without all the risk that comes with the other things that usually is used for taking away a headache. So Cliff, I'm putting you on the spot again. so I can catch my breath.
I'll stand right on the
What do
center
you
of it.
think the hospitals normally give for a headache, and then after they charge you about $1,000 for the pill, send you away?
Tylenol,
Very good, sir.
acetaminophen.
Very good. So now, 50% of acute fatal injury, okay, comes from something that's given very casually at the hospital. Guess what it is?
Ooh, acetaminophen.
Tylenol. Yes. So right. So if you go in there with a headache, they know you want something. They're not going to let you go empty-handed because you literally made that trip. You made that effort. So again, they're going to hand you something, and it's more than likely going to be Tylenol. And so they keep saying that, oh, it's worth the risk because it brings fever down, which we're going to go into next.
Yeah, you don't
But
want to take too much Tylenol.
but we already have too much going on with our liver. We already have too much. We have so much fatty liver now because of all the processed foods. It's not even alcohol related anymore. So if you throw Tylenol on top of that mess, not really so great, okay? So I would definitely consider, that situation as far as hydrating up, do a natural anti-inflammatory, and sometimes it's not because of too much glucose, it's because you haven't eaten properly that day. So some of us might, we're going through a drive-through, we didn't eat enough, or we ate something that really bothered us. Some people get severe headaches, and my husband is one of them, from nitrates, okay? The problem is nitrates is just like MSG. It's hidden in thousands of food, maybe millions, okay? So it's on fruit now, it's on vegetables. Of course, people always think of it as in cold cuts or bacon, and it's really like almost like a seasoning additive, the nitrates, and it can cause a devastating headache. Some people always would talk about like the Chinese food. Oh, I know there was MSG in it. Now I have a pounding headache. But yes, that type of headache could send you to the ER, but it was just something you consumed. So it just needs some time to pass through the digestive system. It literally is inflaming the gut, inflaming the brain, and you just need to get some time to pass to feel better. Oh, do I have a caller? Awesome. I miss my calls. Guys, call me. You know I love to answer questions. Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Joanne, and good morning, Cliff.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. I got a question. It seems that anytime you have pain and everything, anymore you hear the word inflammation. You talked about it a little bit this morning. But my question is there a difference or a relationship between inflammation and swelling? Is that the same thing, totally different, or what?
Curtis, that's an awesome question, and actually it's about 2 points from now, but I'm going to speed it up and talk about it now. So if you want to listen off air, I can definitely cover that right now for you. But that's an excellent question. Thank you for it. Do you have any other questions that you want me to cover?
No, I don't think so. I'll just listen for that one.
All right. Well, thank you, Curtis. That was a great question and definitely applicable to today. So I'm going to cover it right now, okay? All right. Thank you. All right. So Curtis had an excellent question. And so swelling versus pain and inflammation. There is a difference, but with pain and inflammation, usually swelling will present itself at the same time. But swelling, okay, so there's some people think of swelling when their lymph glands, okay, their lymph nodes swell, and all of a sudden this neck that seems super innocent all of a sudden starting to look pretty big, pretty swollen, and it's almost like you got some golf balls or rocks on your lymph glands, okay? And that definitely is an alert. But believe it or not, that is an excellent thing. This is something that the body is doing, just like the inflammation, okay, to not only bring attention to the area, But the swelling in the lymph areas, so that would be the neck, under the arms, and in the groin area mainly. Okay, there's lymph nodes everywhere, but those are the areas that normally we notice when they're swollen. That's a good swelling. That means the body is doing every single system it has lined up to fight something that doesn't belong or that's bothering the human body. So if you try to kind of mess with it, a lot of people, when they get like a swollen lymph node, they're like always touching it and being very aggressive. Not such a great idea. The lymph nodes, the lymph system that deals with your immune system, your T cells, your just everything that works with your immune system, your interferon, that the lymph system is set up for. It knows what it's doing, okay? As long as you fast, that's the trick with swelling. If it's swelling in the lymph system, you definitely want to fast. You want to abstain, from all food. If you need lots of broth, you can do some bone broth or vegetable broth or some herbal teas. No caffeinated beverages, no fruit juice, Fruit juice is never a good idea, even on your healthiest day, but definitely not on your sick day. I tend to see people doing real old school methods of orange juice or ginger ale when they're not well. That has more sugar than the body can handle again on a healthy day. Please do not drink anything but water, broth, or herbal teas when you have swollen lymph areas, okay? You want to do lots of hydration. You want to rest, okay? Now, there is certain situations when and again, most of the stuff I'm referring to is adults. I'll do a whole nother show on kids and how I raise them without going to ERs and antibiotics and stuff. But for this question, I would say let's just apply to adults. If you have a mini rebounder at home, so you're swollen in the lymph area, but you're not, feeling lethargic or weak or fatigued, you can get yourself on a mini rebounder. That's a mini trampoline. They make them with handrails. They sell them online for $100. I have one in my coaching office. Most of my clients, I have them go on that. If you can go on it for 10 minutes, they say that your immune system goes up 30%. You won't put a stress on your joints. You do not have to do a Jane Fonda workout. You're just basically pressing gently down like as if you're trying to touch the floor, and that will stimulate your lymph. I had a real good friend, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he said to me, even I think before I had children, if you chew gum, natural gum hopefully, at the same time as going on the rebounder, especially if it's swollen like lymph and you feel your sinus cavity filling up or ear pressure, that will also help relieve that. So that's that type of swelling. Now, there's also like swollen joints, swollen ankles. That's definitely different, So the first thing that I usually do in my family is, are you dehydrated? Whenever your body holds on to water and is swollen, your hands, your ankles, it's normally dehydration. So I first address that always. Now, if you hurt your knee or a joint, and I'm definitely not a specialist in this, but I have, a son that, I brought him to an orthopedic enough times to learn and educate myself, you will have swelling in that area that is damaged. And until that area feels safe enough, then the water won't disperse itself. So that's when you get into, and that's something that the ER strongly suggests not going in for, because you're going to be under that uncomfortable situation, more pain than you probably want to deal with. So if you're home, you're elevating your feet, you're hydrating yourself, you're maybe putting that injured area with an ice pack, and then you're calling an orthopedic that you trust the next morning and getting the appropriate care. So again, I hope I answered your question, Curtis, but swelling normally is dehydration or sign of an injury in that area. But if it's like especially swelling in the face or under the eyes, I tell people, if it was me, I would do lots of cucumbers, tons of celery, or make a little blended drink, or if you are have a juicer at home, make a green drink, and lots of, because greens have natural sodium that's in balance with all other minerals and trace minerals, so it's like the nature's most perfect electrolyte drink. So at least you can hydrate your body, because what's the first thing they do when they hook you up? They put saline in your body, but their saline is fake. It's sodium chloride that is chemically treated, and it's an uncomfortable situation. You're not at home. So yes, I know some of us don't like water so much, or the thought of doing cucumbers and celery, it's like, but that will save you lots of money, lots of time, lots of stress, and you can rule out dehydration right away. Okay? And again, I'm talking about non-severe issues, their list. All right, their next one on their list is sore throat. So sore throat is something that I remember growing up, and when I was really young, I had a really painful sore throat, and I'm the youngest of 8. My mom's poor, and she works at the hospital. That's her full-time job, at the hospital, and she just kept giving me broths, wouldn't let me eat anything, because I was hungry, but I remember she said it's best to just do broths, and I just did that, and I got a lot of rest, and I'd be fine. But what I'm seeing a lot of times when you go in for sore throat, again, they want to give you something because you made that effort to go there. So what do they normally give you? Cliff, another question for you. So you go into the ER for a sore throat. What do you think they're going to give you?
Probably something like a cough syrup or a syrupy type of a...
All right. You were kind of close. Not really, though. Antibiotics.
Oh, antibiotics.
Antibiotics, okay. So headache, it's the Tylenol. If for a sore throat, it's the antibiotics. Now, all my listeners know where I'm going to go with this, okay? There's never an absence, a disease that is because of the absence of antibiotics. There's no such disease, okay? Now, but sore throat, definitely way too much carbohydrates and sugar, dehydration, but the number one thing is lack of sleep, okay? So just kind of like say to yourself, all right, I have a sore throat, my lymph is feeling swollen. Did I have maybe an argument, or am I stressed about something where I'm not sleeping? You really do need to check the obvious, because I know, like with my throat, if I, get in a fight with Matt, which rarely happens, just to put that out there, but if you have a fight and you don't sleep well, right away my throat hurts the next day. But is it something severe, life-threatening? Definitely not. It's because I didn't get sleep. Or maybe I was just upset, and the stress really takes on different areas of each person's body. Some people, when they get in arguments or fights, or they're really upset or stressed about something, it goes in their stomach. They might even start throwing up. They might have diarrhea that's uncontrollable. Stress really plays havoc on the human body. So you first got to kind of like really ask yourself those questions before you put yourself in more of a stressful situation, because I know sometimes you just want, I want to really use this word lightly, the attention to get help, okay? But a lot of problems in the ER, the attention, the type of attention that you are craving or want, you will not get it there. Okay, that it won't come. It won't be like, the shows where, they're sitting by your bedside and, you get to vent to them for an hour, and then, you leave, feeling oh so good. No, it's not really how it works. So take a quick inventory. Do I have a sore throat because I didn't sleep well, or I'm just really, up late because, I'm just trying to get something done, or just watching way too much shows online. Totally guilty of that. All right. And that comes into the next one. So another huge one that takes up the percentage of unnecessary ER visits is mood disorders. So I want to clarify, this is not suicidal thoughts. But again, same thing with suicidal thoughts. There is definitely places, and we have lots in the Treasure Coast, that you would go to get the necessary help with people that are specifically trained in that situation. Okay? Going to an ER, they're going to have to redirect you sometimes depending on their setup and what they're linked with. So again, there is more stress, okay, more fear, sometimes just like this frightening experience because now you're redirected and it might be on the other side of town. Okay, so definitely go to the appropriate places. Okay, so the mood disorders is more for where your anxiety is so unchecked that you just feel like, you just can't control yourself. So anxiety definitely is something that breath work, and don't make fun of this one, okay? Because breath work really works for anxiety, okay?
Even the doctors agree that
even the doctors
breathing
agree.
is essential.
Harvard, all the big guys, okay? Anxiety, the number one thing to do is breath work, okay? Even if someone came out of a seizure, okay, like their anxiety is so bad and they had a seizure, you can still do breath work. Some ERs will even ask, well, did the seizure last more than 5 minutes? And if it did, then bring them in. Or was the seizure multiple before you bring them in? Because again, they're going to refer you to a neurologist or a specialist for seizures. Again, they're not necessarily set up for that, okay? So you really want to really try, again, hydrating and doing breath work. I know I harp on sugar a lot on this show, but if you do a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine, or God forbid one of those real foo-foo drinks that have like 130 grams of sugar with caffeine, so say you take one of those real fancy coffee shop big drinks, they could have 3 espressos in there and 130 grams of sugar. That's about a week's worth of sugar content for the human body. And you slam that thing down, and then you try to go to sleep a couple hours later, and you feel like your blood pressure's through the roof, your anxiety's through the roof, and you don't know what's happening to your body. It was the drink. It wasn't, anything severe. So you do have to really think about those things, and maybe hopefully next time you choose to avoid it. I know with my sciatica, and people go to the ER with sciatica. I'm a little getting off topic for a second, but sciatica is really big right now. A lot of people are complaining about it. That is definitely induced by sweets. So you have a little dessert and a couple of glasses of wine, your sciatica is going to flare up. And you're going to think it cannot be food. It's impossible. This is keeping me up all night. I can't get comfortable. I can't sleep. But trust me, I've lived it. It is preventable and it is naturally treatable, and definitely something the ER is not going to be able to help you with. Even if they gave you a shot, it's very temporary and definitely not a permanent fix. So, okay, but back to mood disorders. So again, suicidal, depressive thoughts, this is not what they're saying to avoid the ER for. They're just saying redirect, go to the places that are set up for that, where someone can be checked in and evaluated by the appropriate person that has the skills to really give them the help they need, okay? And the anxiety, definitely really just kind of think of where it might be coming from. If you have a friend, a loved one, you should discuss with them that anxiety is kind of getting a little bit out of your control. And if you call them in the middle of the night, can you talk with them or maybe come over, and they can be, you set this up when you're feeling well, so you have a support system in place. Because most of the stress and the horrible experience that comes with going to an ER is that alone feeling. Do I call an ambulance? Do I drive myself? So when you're feeling well, kind of have that little quick discussion. Hey, if anything ever happens where I feel I have to go to the ER for any random thing, would you be there for me? Really, sometimes even just a neighbor. I feel like we need to be more neighborly either way, but it might be a good idea to really reach out. The next is alcohol-related disorders. And for me, I think that's self-explanatory. If someone needs their stomach pumped because they just had just one too many, yes. I think I would go to the ER. Where else are you going to go? Don't suffer. Some people will just throw up and feel better. Some people need to get their stomach pumped. But hopefully none of my listeners have to deal with this. But they say not to go to the ER. I kind of disagree. If you need your stomach pumped and you're feeling super sick and you can't get yourself to throw up, get your butt in there. Less alcohol in your body, the better. But hydrate. And sometimes if someone is so intoxicated, they will not drink the water. There's definitely an aversion to water when someone is drunk. So get them hooked up to saline and get their stomach pumped. All right. So the next, my favorite subject, I hope I left enough time for this, is fevers. Okay? I was thrilled to see that the information on fevers is getting updated on the internet. It was really difficult for me as a mom, when a fever would come, or I would be talking to friends or neighbors and they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the ER, I have a fever. And I'm like, well, you look normal. Your eyes are clear. You're walking around. Like, what do you mean you're going to the ER? Well, it's 101, and I just want to just double check. Well, I don't argue the case, but at the same time, I'm thinking, why? Why? Absolutely, why would you do that? Most information has been clarified now that a fever is not a bad thing. Now, medicating a fever and bringing it down, that is the bad thing. The fever is intended to increase your T cells, which are your fighter cells, to kill or destroy or get rid of whatever word you want to use that doesn't belong in the human body. So if you shut down that system, you are either lengthening the time of the infection or upsetting the homeostasis that's trying to occur in the body. So a fever is a good thing. Now, the first time my son had a fever, my husband at the time, who was Peruvian, said, oh my gosh, if you don't give him something to put down the fever, he's going to get brain damage. Well, luckily, 18 years later, there is a credible study that shows that it's 108 degrees long term, meaning for hours, that would interfere with the brain health. 108. I personally have never known anyone that went that high. But my son, he did go to 104.5, and I was working with a holistic pediatrician, and she said he's fine as long as he remains having eye contact and he's wetting his diapers. And sure enough, he did. It only lasted maybe 3 hours, and he was perfectly healthy from that moment on. No signs of cold, flu, or anything. So something just got into his system, and it really bothered him, and it fought it. That those same holistic pediatricians, and again, I'm talking about babies, but this applies to adults too. You do not want to bring your fever down. Normal is considered up to 100.9. Okay, so that's even normal, that where you shouldn't even give it a thought. Okay, for the emergency room visits, most are saying between 103 and 104 now. Okay, so not even to bother going in there to 103, 104. And usually, okay, if it's because of a cold, infection, flu, then they will medicate you because that they know that you want something. So normally antibiotics and Tylenol. So in holistic world, that's not solutions, that's interfering with the body trying to fix what it's going through. So usually you let that fever, you cuddle yourself up, you do lots of hydration, broths, you fast, and you get that fever to kill what doesn't belong. That's why the fever is there. And there's lots of credible evidence to back me up now, but I kind of just always said, for fever, it really has to be there for a reason. Why else would it be there other than to just, just like inflammation, to try to fix something or get rid of something. So some people talk about also aspirin, okay, as a treatment at home or given by a physician. And I learned something very interesting when I researched aspirin. There are 15,000 deaths a year by aspirin. 15,000 deaths a year. And again, the CDC says that it is 17% effective on preventing heart disease. 17%, okay? But what they don't tell you is that 46% have gastro bleeding, and about 43% could have bleeding in the brain. Both can be life-threatening. Okay? So I don't know much about statistics and numbers, but I'm not really impressed by the 17%. So you can do OPC extract, vitamin E, D3 and K, olive oil, cod liver oil instead. All right, everyone. Whew. I didn't cover everything.
You did it, though.
I did it. And I didn't even take a commercial, did I? Oh, my God. Boy, I love to talk. All right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome week. And again, stay healthy, stay well. Prevention is key. You take care of yourself, okay, everyone? Have an awesome week. Bye.
Don't forget $250. We'll get you a whole month in the summer, but you got to do it while it's still summer at Joanne's World of Nutrition in the Crass Square, US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from City Hall in Fort Pierce.